Welcome back to the Got Her Back podcast.
Hola, chicas.
Welcome back, guys.
Hi. How's it going, bruh?
Yeah,
Bruh? I see your shirt.
Yeah, you know.
Marley started saying that. That's all she. Come on, bruh. She stuffed toys in her pocket. She had on cargo pants today, and she stuffed so many toys
To go to school.
in her pocket. It was a hair dryer in there, like a toy hair dryer, and I'm like, girl,
Gotta love that
Spencer's
girl.
into that too. She had a bunch of gift cards, and we were going to Target the other day, and I was like, here, you might as well, get a few toys if you would like. It's from her birthday and stuff. They've just like collected in there. So I let her put them in her purse, and then she wanted like a pretend hair set, like, blow dryer. And so she's always like, Mommy, let me do your hair. And I'm like, oh, crap. Because she wants to like brush it and stuff. And I have this like, when I was young, I have this like bad memory of, it was my mom's best friend. Her name was Cindy Lanning. How I remember that, I don't know. But I literally was in probably like, I don't even know if I was in kindergarten. I might have been 4 or 5, and I took a round brush. This is why I don't round brush my hair.
No, it got
and I just
stuck.
kept doing it like this, and it literally was like just like they couldn't get it out.
I feel like that's a rite of passage.
Yeah, well,
The
that's
round
why
brush.
Megan doesn't round brush her hair.
I don't understand how to do that. But every time we get a blow dry, like, how do you not get it tangled?
I can do it now.
Really?
DC now. Mm-hmm.
I have an announcement to make.
Oh,
Announcement?
Announcement. Announcement. You're looking at a girlfriend.
oh, it's official.
Oh.
It's official.
Moving on
asked
up.
me, would I be his girlfriend?
Gabriel and I were talking about it last night because he was like, catch me up on Meg since I didn't get to like hang out with y'all that much. And I was like, ooh, she's in love. She got it bad. And I was telling him like the stories. I was like, he actually like seems like just exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So opposite, but yet complementary to each other. You know what I mean? Like he's a minimalist. You're not. Like, I don't know. I just
That
think
works out.
I think it's a great
Yeah,
like compliment
balance.
to each other.
It
So
balances each
I'm
other
excited to see what all happens.
Last night when I got home, after trick-or-treating, I don't know, he just like had all these things that he said he needed to tell me or whatever. And then like just in his head that stuff from school, and he was just going through the list. And somehow I was like, let's talk about finances. And I was like, I'm a numbers person. And so we got our phones out, and I'm like, what's your credit score?
Is that one of the questions you shouldn't ask? I mean,
We got it
kinda
out.
wanna know.
We
You
got it
gotta
out.
know.
And he's over 700. And we showed each other. So I was like, okay, boo. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of those talks lately, like all those. And it was funny because after you left, that's what we were doing too. We were like, blah, 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 because I didn't feel like we got to talk all week. So we were doing that till like 12:30.
Yeah, we were
1.
up till like 11:30, and which is late for him. I mean, he leaves at 5 something in the morning. I'm like, holy crap.
Finally, I was like, I have to get up at 5. So sorry, I gotta go to bed. Yeah.
One of the things that me and Trent, what kind of threw him off guard was he was like, you have what in student loans? He was like, I don't even have student loans, Marie, and I'm sitting here paying for your student loans.
Hey,
Like,
I mean, it's
sorry.
part of
It's
connecting.
Yeah,
and,
but being open and honest with it from the beginning.
and me like coming out of my divorce and everything and being like, okay, this is who I am right now. So it's like hard, but it is like a good feeling when you get it over with and done, right? And you like have a plan.
Mine's like shocking, right? Because of my acquisitions and cabins and houses and buildings.
That's different. Those are businesses.
I know, but still, like, I have
Not
debt.
personal,
And so I asked him first. I was like, do you have debt? And so we're like going through it or whatever. I was like, well, let me scare you. And he's like, you're not going to scare me. And I'm like, yeah, I probably have like $5 million in debt. And he's like, but yours is good debt.
But that's
Megan.
good
So
debt,
He's
yeah.
like, I
It's
understand
real
that. And I'm like,
estate.
And that adds
like,
to
I
your
don't-
net worth.
I have,
Anything that
I have
adds to
some
your
bad
net worth.
debt, like from the acquisitions and stuff like that, just from overhead. But it is what it is. It'll all work out.
Yeah, those are good conversations. Those are adult conversations. And those are conversations I wish I would have had, in past relationships that I never, we just avoided, which
Right.
doesn't end well at all.
I know.
So.
To be able to talk about finances like open and honest like that and be like, okay, it's this, this, and this. And like, I would pay for this, this, and this. And you would pay for this, this, and this. And it just be like, we laughed about it was so nice. Like,
Yeah.
it was
and
so
not
nice.
to be like a battle,
Yeah.
I mean,
Not at
that's
all.
what it should be. I mean, I feel like because a lot of arguments in relationships and marriages all comes down to finances, things that you're not keeping, like Trent knew I had bad spending habits. He had to ground me a little bit, but it's just being honest. Like sometimes he'll say, you spent what on the credit card? But he won't look at my credit card bill, but I say, hey, we have to do this. We have to do that. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
Just being completely honest. But.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Megan. We have a question that came through on social media from Julia.
Okay.
We've been telling our audience that we're going to be taking questions. So this will be our first time taking our questions. So I'm excited. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you open to getting married again ever?
Yeah. I'm never going to let.
What is your knee-jerk first reaction?
Yes.
Honest.
It's yes, because I think it's easy for me to say yes. And the reason, and I know that sounds so crazy, but I think it's because of my childhood, right? Like I didn't let my past define my childhood define my future. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let my past marriage define my future either. Like I'm not going to prevent all that bad from preventing me to having all that good. Like it's funny, like Krista told me the other day, like when I told her, I was like, I'm an official girlfriend. I mean, like he like literally asked me and then, to be his girlfriend, which I think is, like that's so nice. And it's so like the right way. And Krista's like, Megan, you owe it to yourself to be happy. And I'm like, you're right. I do. I owe it to myself.
I think it's a good feeling when they ask. And it seems so.
You?
Yeah, he
Really?
asked me. He asked me the day after my divorce was final, and he said in his mind he was waiting on it to be like official. Aww. He wasn't going to ask me but he asked me, "Will you go with me?"
Oh, like go out with
yeah.
Like the old
so it was really funny, and it was the day after Thanksgiving last year, and we had got home from my family's, and we forgot this like really good cake that he had bought from this really good restaurant he wanted to take down there to my mom, and we forgot to take it, so we still had it at my house. So at midnight we cut it, and we were sitting there eating cake, and he asked me because it was like my official date. So he was like, will you go with me? I was like, go? Where are we going? But it was really cute. It does feel good to be like, okay, because I don't think that's anything I've ever.
Well, we had to talk about it like at the beginning because he hadn't had a girlfriend in years. Like he hadn't even posted on his social media in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm like, okay, well, this is a big deal for him. Like, just like I hadn't really dated a lot, and just got out of divorce. He's never been married. And so it just, I told him, I'm like, look, like I need to know that when you're ready that you're in it, to be in it. So like, you need to ask me. And so I told him like, like when you're ready, because he hadn't had a girlfriend, like, I don't know, 6 or 8 years. I mean, he's just been dating, so.
I love it. I'm happy.
And it's so funny because some women don't know the difference between dating and being officially.
And now there's like
talking.
There's talking.
Friends.
There's dating. There's being official. I'm like, what is this? Like, how do you know? This I don't want to date.
Yeah,
like,
and that's why I don't even think I remember Trent asking me, "Are we doing this?" Like, I don't remember.
Probably
it was just kind
an
of like
unspoken,
mutual understanding. I guess I was like,
no, my sister called me and she was like, "It's time. I'm ready to meet him." Because I've been like guarding my family and not my kids because I needed to see him with my kids, on a daily basis to make sure that like this was going to fit and this was going to work because he's never lived in a home with kids. And so, like,
oh yeah, you've got to see
he teaches kids, but like I got a little and then I got a teenager that can be spicy sometimes too. So, like
you got to see the dynamic.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to. Yeah.
Talking about kids, hot topic that's been requested on the hotline. Ding, ding. Co-parenting. That's where we're going today. What do y'all think?
I'm ready.
I think that's good. I mean,
it's a good one.
We all have experience in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good one. I think it's, I posted, I had a struggle like week before last, Spencer had a dentist appointment and I hadn't been around my ex in months. And, I had text in the parenting app and was like, hey, I need you to pick Spencer up from school and meet us at the dentist's office. And he flipped out and told me I didn't need to be at the appointment, anything. And I'm like, hold on. I have an appointment too. Like me and both the kids. It's not like I'm going just to go, but per our decree, I could go if I wanted to, but he just, I don't know. Like he just did not want to go to the dentist with us. So I just said, look, I'll take care of it. I'll go pick her up. I'll take her to the dentist. You can get her after. So I did. I went to the dentist or went to her school, showed up at 3:55. The appointment was at 4. Luckily it's right around the corner. and took her up there. We're checking in. I'm filling out all the paperwork. And he comes in and literally cussed me out in front of everybody, in front of my kids, in front of, the staff, and it just was this whole thing. And so, I hadn't been around that kind of behavior in months. And to be honest, a sad part about it is that it was like a epiphany for me. Like, I was numb to the way he talked to me, right? And it was just like such an explosion. But what I also learned that day was a set boundary. Like, I'm never going to put myself or my kids in that position again to be around that type of behavior.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to allow my kids to see him talk to me in that way. Like, that's why I got out. That's why I divorced. And so it's just rough. My co-parenting situation right now is really, really rough. And I had posted that on Facebook. I had 75 comments. And I mean, we're talking about paragraphs of men and women, because it's not just one-sided. It's not just the women that struggled. It's men too that are like, I'm like, does this get any better? I feel like I have no hope. And
It will get better.
Girl,
It will get better. I'm not saying the behavior will change. I don't know that. I just know that it'll get better because you'll get better with your boundaries, and you'll get better with healthy boundaries for you that make it easier for you to deal with. You can't control the other person ever, but you can always control what you're willing to allow.
Right.
So I think that just being a learning lesson for you that, okay, what if the next time we have an appointment, like what would I do differently? You know what I mean? Or how do you navigate that?
Crazy thing is I made it 6 months ago, right? And I'm still like Courtney this week, she, picks up Spencer from school, and I had my days off. I'm still like a year later, not used to not having my kid every day. Because we have a split schedule. It's 50-50.
I cannot keep up with yours at all. So, like every day I'm like, do you have Spencer? Where's Spencer? Is Spencer home? Like yours to me is so hard. I cannot get yours down.
So those are things that you have to for co-parenting. Like my best advice, I screwed up. I made the dentist appointment on his day. I made it 6 months ago. I made it for me and the kids. We all go to the dentist at the time. It's not like I don't have time in my life with the way I work to go take Spencer one day and Taryn one day.
No.
And
It just makes it easier.
Yeah, we all go together. And so I didn't make that, with intentions of going to try to see him. I just made the appointment, didn't pay attention to the day. I was like, oh, okay, 6 months from now, cool. Well, when I walked in before he got there, I already told the lady, I was like, hey, because just the way he had acted on the text, I was like, I need to make sure this next 6 month appointment is on a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Those are my days, And then after he walked in acting crazy, the whole staff was like, and it just was just rough. And I felt sorry for my oldest. I felt because I'm, texting him from in the chair going, I'm so sorry. I'm sure you're embarrassed. And he's just like, it doesn't bother me. Well, that means that he's immune to it too. And that hurts my heart for him.
And what are you, after you left that appointment and processed that? And first of all, I'm sorry that happened because that is I hate that for you, honestly. Yeah. But what would you do differently, moving forward, or what did you decide in that moment that you don't?
Unless it's an emergency appointment, unless Spencer is sick and has a fever or something and has to go to urgent care or whatever, I'll never make an appointment on his time.
Yeah. So now you know.
Because I will never, I got to pay attention to that. It's just like Courtney, I was telling her hey, I'm going to need help on Wednesday and Thursday because I have Spencer's Halloween parties, and we were texting, and she's like, and I'm telling her all this stuff, and I'm like, am I confusing you? So she picks up the phone. She was like, Megan, do you have Spencer on Wednesday? And so I start because I was at work, right? And I just go 100 miles an hour. I was like, girl, you're right. I don't have her Wednesday mornings. He takes her to school. I'm still not used to it.
Yeah.
It's over a year later, and I'm still not used to the schedule.
One thing that we had to do was we had to get, you probably saw them, those huge whiteboards on our hallways.
Yeah.
We had to get these glass acrylic huge boards, and we had to get them big because of their schedules. And 3 kids and mine and Gabriel's, and just because my kids were confused too, wait, we're leaving again, or wait, what, when, so it's they couldn't get on the same page. They would get comfortable and they would try to make plans with their friends, and then it's time to leave, you know what I mean? So we did it also so that they can visually, we color coded it. They can visually look and see okay, I leave this day and I come back this day. And so they can kind of plan with their friends because they're getting to the age where they want to have sleepovers and they want to do all these things. But it might fall on his time or whatever. So I think just those visuals for us, and I'm not a calendar person, I'm not a planner, but we like literally had to. We were like just running around like chickens with our head cut off every day,
Yeah.
So it's getting better, but things like that we have to just like see. Like everybody in the house has a different color. Everybody in the, it's just what we had to do. If we have travel, it's in a different, so because we travel a lot too.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, you're gone again, and then we're gone, and then, so.
There's a really cool digital one too I've seen.
I just don't do well with digital
No,
ones.
but no, it's like, it's still
I
physical.
almost got that one, but it was pre-order still, and it wasn't as big as what I wanted it. And I was just like, I kept going back and forth, and I was like, we're just gonna throw it on the wall. And we also have to-do lists. We also wanted to-do lists and chore lists, and
all the things.
We were at
been
Best
doing a
Buy,
million
and I
things.
know one of the refrigerators has it, and Maya was
I
like,
saw
I
it.
want that refrigerator, so I could draw on it. Granted, this refrigerator will only go in our pantry, so it's kind of like, do we really,
do you really want that?
need to
Yeah.
spend that much money on a refrigerator that no one sees? But she was like, but I could draw on it, and we can
You're like, I
have
can get you a
tabs."
sketch pad, girl.
Yeah,
you
I'll do
can
an
draw on that
Etch-a-Sketch.
too. It's $5.
I know.
Get
They
you a
just-
dry
they don't
erase marker.
understand.
You'll be good, girl.
We went through the camera aisle, and she was like, "Oh, Mom, this camera is only $90."
Oh, gosh.
Only 90.
Only?
But yeah, I like that idea. I think just keeping.
Yeah.
We're trying to loop them in.
Well,
and
it was my fault. I mean, it was my fault for not paying attention, but 6
you know,
months ago, like
you
I was
might
in a fog.
think
you know
about
what I mean?
doing
Like,
what we're doing and putting it up, and then showing her the colors.
Yeah.
Even though she can't read, and say, hey, where you see these hearts, like these are when you're gone and these are when you're here.
Well,
or you could do a symbol or
doesn't have
something
a-
so that y'all are both like just visually
Or like
seeing
dad,
it.
mom, like the
Yeah.
So
what I do for her, like because she's 4, right? It's different because Taryn's just here with me 100% of the time. But for her, what I do is the days that she's going, like today was a day that her dad picks her up. I tell her when I drop her off, I give her a hug and a kiss at school. And I say, okay, it's daddy's day today. Mommy will call you tomorrow. So she knows what to expect because she's not in activities yet. So it's like, I don't really all it really is like coming and going. But I try to tell her like I'd gotten her cookies for Halloween. And I told her, I'm like, hey, go ahead and put your cookies in your bag and take them to daddy's house because they're not going to be good when you come back, And so she told Miss Courtney this morning because I was getting ready. Courtney came to get her ready. And so Courtney came in there with the cookies. I'm like, put those in her bag. She's like, oh, she already told me, So she's very smart for a 4-year-old,
Oh, yes.
like super smart. So I think at some point
she
we'll
knows
have
the
to do
words to Call Me Big Papa last night in the car. I was like, is she...
yeah.
Go Spencer. She knows all of the hits. She's like knows all the bangers. Maddie and Riley were just dying laughing, and they thought that was so funny. She knew all these old hip hop songs
Because they're all on my playlist.
I know.
And I play it in my car over
It
and over
was
again. So
really
she's
really
memorizes
cute.
them.
They're so smart.
How
so
was it
smart.
for you, Maria, whenever you co-parented with Trent in the beginning?
Did y'all ever have a disagreement?
We did. And I had to learn. And I feel like this is where a lot of like co-parenting can kind of get a little crazy or not crazy.
Yeah.
Let me just say hectic.
Chaos.
Or chaotic
Right.
is when you put your personal feelings for the other person in it. So of course
Of
I like him.
course.
Of course I got, but I had to just, hey, like, there's no expectations. We're in
Yeah.
this, we're parenting. I know you're probably dating other people. I'm going to date other people. You don't have to know that. We don't have to know whatever. But when it comes to our children or not our child, since we only had one at the time, it's about parenting,
Right.
But granted, whenever we're together, it's not like we weren't being intimate. So it's kind of like, so
Blurred
what
lines.
what are we? Like, are
And
we
emotions.
together? Are we not together? And it kind of worked for us. I mean, we argued very rarely about Tristan because it was mostly about Tristan. Like,
Right.
but my situation is different than y'all's because I had Tristan 100% of the time, whereas Trent was in Texas.
Yeah.
And, but one of the biggest arguments we've ever had while parenting was when I signed up Tristan for a daycare. And at that time, I didn't get child support from Trent. You know, whatever you want to give me is fine. If not, but when I decided to work, I found a really good school that I loved. And at that time, that was really expensive. It was like $220 a week.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2010. And he was like, why is school so expensive? I said, well, it's an elite school. They have all the classes named after Ivy League colleges and all this stuff. And he was like, I couldn't have a say in where our kids would go to school. And I was like, but because I'm asking him to pay for at least half.
Yeah.
And so he was like, well, so that was like our biggest argument. He was like, well, if I'm helping, I would at least to kind of have a say. But then after he saw the school, he was like, okay, now I know why. So I feel like that's like one of the biggest arguments we've had. And then when I moved to Texas, it wasn't because to be with him. It was like I wanted to get out of where I'm from and I wanted to provide a better life for Tristan. So I was like, I'm moving to Texas without the expectation of us being together. If we're going to be together, great. If not, I want my child to be around his father.
I can co-parent. Like I did it for 20 years with DJ, like his mom, Sheris. I mean, we co-parented beautifully. I can tell you in 20 years, her and I have only gotten, now she may see it different because she's much more like reserved.
She's so quiet.
But we've literally only gotten 2 fights, and I can tell you what they were about. Once was over our wedding, and she was going to let him go to a baseball tournament instead of our wedding. And that was like, look, I was hoping at the time to only get married one time, and we wanted him in the pictures, and that was a family event. But literally, like the next day, she called and she was like, "You're right. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, she just needed time to think about it." And then one other time when our son was in college and he was living with us, and we were just trying to get his schedule down, and it wasn't like meshing well. And then she just didn't realize like how my childhood and the fears I had, like it was coming forward. And once I explained that to her, she was like, I totally get it now, Megan. Like, I'm so sorry. Like
you lucked out with her.
I
because
did. She's amazing. Like we're business partners on a cabin.
She's incredible. I have so much respect for her. I love her.
But that's 2 women co-parenting.
Yeah.
That's
it's
different.
so good.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean,
it's probably
she
different
would
with
come
your
to me.
spouse.
Right. But she would come to me like if DJ acted out, because her and Darian are both kind of dusted under the rug kind of people. They don't like confrontation when it comes to like their kids. And so she would call me and be like, Megan, this happened. I need you to talk to him for me. And I'm like, sure. Like, cause I was more of like, put the hammer down. I was more of the disciplinarian in my house and with him.
Co-parenting for me with Brylan's dad versus now is like night and day as well, because probably my age, you know what I mean? Like I was a teenager then. And so it was very petty and toxic and just try to hurt each other as much as you can. Right. You know what I mean? Just because we were immature, basically, versus now knowing what I know after all the counseling I've done, all the self-work I've done. And now like what works for me is like no contact. Like that's the best thing for me. I have not heard his voice in a year and a half. Yeah. Like I haven't even heard his voice, and that's what works well for me. Yeah. Just because everything that went down and everything. So for me, it has to be something that I have to send a message about. But I'm lucky, like again, mine's different than yours right now because my kids all have their devices and phones and they can do the go-betweens for me. Like I don't try to put them in the middle of anything, but I let them kind of work out pick up and drop off. And if they have a friend, wanting to play with a friend and it's his time or whatever, I let them do all those things because I was doing it all in the beginning. I was getting frustrated because I was like, the more I was removed from that relationship, the more I was triggered by the communication styles and stuff like that never worked for us. Like the farther I was away from those things, the farther, like the crazier it was for me when I was in them. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's like when you're away from that someone for so long and then you're around them, you're like, it's like more, I don't know. Yeah. It's like harder to deal with. So when I would try to just communicate, our communication styles, guess what? They still don't match. We still can't communicate, even though we never do. Yeah. It's very clear now looking in, we still can't. We do not speak the same language. We do not have the same beliefs. We do not have the same morals. We do not, like, we just don't mesh well at all. So to know that you did that for so long and then you try to do it again, for me, I was like, okay, you know, I have to stop doing this to myself because it's triggering me in a way where it's not healthy for me. So unless I just like literally have to, it's not happening for me.